A foreign widow, who owed no one anything, walked away from the only future she could still claim, to follow a bitter, empty woman into a land where she would arrive as an outsider, with no promise of welcome. Before this choice, a family from Bethlehem, Elimelech and his wife Naomi, had sought refuge from famine in the land of Moab. They settled there, and their 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, married Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. But in Moab, tragedy struck. First, Naomi's husband, Elimelech, died. Then, 10 years later, both her sons also died, leaving Naomi utterly desolate, bereaved of her husband and all her children. Overwhelmed by loss, Naomi heard that Yahweh had again blessed her homeland, Judah, with food. With nothing left for her in Moab, she resolved to return to Bethlehem, accompanied by her 2 daughters-in-law. But on the road, Naomi stopped, turning to Orpah and Ruth. She urged them to return to their mothers' homes, to seek new husbands and futures among their own people. She insisted she had nothing left to offer them, no sons to marry, no hope to give. All 3 women lifted their voices and wept, a raw outpouring of shared sorrow. Naomi pressed them again. "Go back, my daughters, for it grieves me seriously for your sakes, for Yahweh's hand has gone out against me." They wept once more. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, a tearful farewell, and turned back towards Moab. Orpah's figure grew smaller on the road back toward Moab, her weeping fading. She had chosen the reasonable path, the one that still held a home and a future for her. But Ruth clung to Naomi, refusing to leave her side. Naomi turned and walked on alone, and when she looked back, Ruth was still there, carrying only the little she owned, following a woman who could promise her nothing. Naomi pleaded, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her God. Follow her." Ruth looked at Naomi, her heart made up, and spoke the unwavering words, "Don't urge me to leave you and to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God." She continued, "Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May Yahweh do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me." Seeing Ruth's steadfast resolve, Naomi spoke no more, and together they continued their journey to Bethlehem. They arrived in Bethlehem just as the barley harvest was beginning, a time of new life in the land. The news of Naomi's return quickly spread, stirring the entire town. The women asked with surprise, "Is this Naomi? Is it truly her?" Naomi, withered by grief, replied, "Don't call me Naomi, which means pleasant. Call me Mara, which means bitter." Her voice choked with emotion. She declared, "I went out full and Yahweh has brought me home again empty." She stood before her former neighbors, a stark image of loss, the vibrancy of her past now a hollow memory. Ruth, the loyal outsider, remained silently by Naomi's side, a quiet anchor in her mother-in-law's storm of grief. To provide for them, Ruth asked Naomi if she could go to the fields and glean the leftover grain, a task for the poorest strangers. So Ruth went, and by what seemed chance, she found herself in a field belonging to a man named Boaz, a relative of Naomi's late husband Elimelech. She worked diligently from morning until evening, her simple headscarf a stark contrast to the bright sun. Boaz, a man of standing, arrived to inspect his fields and noticed the foreign woman. He asked his foreman, "Whose young woman is that?" The foreman explained she was the Moabite woman who had returned with Naomi. Boaz approached Ruth, his voice kind, telling her to stay in his field and glean among his female workers. He instructed his young men not to bother her, and even offered her water to drink from their supply. Ruth fell on her face, overwhelmed, asking, "Why have I found favor in your sight, that you should take knowledge of me, since I am a foreigner?" Boaz answered, "I have been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband." He added, "And how you have left your father, your mother, and the land of your birth, and have come to a people that you didn't know before." Then he blessed her, saying, "May Yahweh repay your work, and a full reward be given to you from Yahweh, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." At mealtime, Boaz invited Ruth to eat with his reapers, sharing his bread and parched grain. As she returned to glean, Boaz secretly instructed his young men to deliberately leave extra stalks of grain for her, even from the bundles. Ruth returned to Naomi that evening with an astonishing amount of barley, far more than expected for a gleaner. Naomi immediately recognized the hand of providence, asking, "Where have you gleaned today? Blessed be he who noticed you." Ruth told her it was in the field of a man named Boaz, a kinsman of Elimelech. Naomi's heart stirred with hope. Boaz was a near kinsman, one who could redeem their lost family land. As the harvest continued, Ruth remained in Boaz's fields, protected and provided for. Then Naomi devised a plan, a bold request for Boaz to fulfill his duty as a kinsman redeemer. She instructed Ruth to wash, anoint herself, and go to the threshing floor after Boaz had finished winnowing grain for the night. Ruth obeyed every instruction, going to the threshing floor when Boaz had eaten, drunk, and lay down to sleep by the grain heap. She approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down herself, a respectful distance from him, fully clothed. At midnight, Boaz was startled awake, sensing a presence. He asked, "Who are you?" Ruth replied, "I am Ruth, your servant. Therefore spread your blanket over your servant, for you are a near kinsman." Boaz, recognizing her integrity and loyalty, blessed her for seeking security through him rather than younger men. He promised to do all that she asked, for all the city knew her to be a worthy woman. However, there was a kinsman even nearer than he, who had the first right of redemption. He sent Ruth home before dawn with a generous measure of barley, so she would not return empty-handed to Naomi. When Ruth told Naomi all that had happened, Naomi wisely advised, "Wait, my daughter, for the man will not rest until he has settled this today." Boaz went to the town gate, where legal and public matters were settled, and found the nearer kinsman. He presented the matter before the elders. The parcel of land belonging to Elimelech was for sale. The nearer kinsman initially agreed to redeem the land, claiming his right. But then Boaz revealed that redeeming the land also meant taking Ruth, the widow, as wife, to preserve the name of the dead. The nearer kinsman refused, fearing it would endanger his own inheritance, and publicly transferred his right to Boaz. Before all the people and elders at the gate, Boaz declared, "You are witnesses today that I have bought all that was Elimelech's." He continued, "Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, I have purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead on his inheritance." The people and elders affirmed, "We are witnesses," and blessed the union. So Boaz took Ruth, the foreign widow, as his wife. In time, Ruth conceived and bore a son. The neighboring women rejoiced, bringing the news to Naomi, whose dark shawl now appeared subtly lighter, almost a soft gray. They exclaimed, "Blessed be Yahweh, who has not left you today without a redeemer." They continued, "Your daughter-in-law, who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him." The women held the child out toward Naomi, but for a moment she did not move, still wrapped in the name Mara, still bracing against a grief she had carried a long way. Naomi, the woman who had returned to Bethlehem empty and bitter, took the child to her bosom. Her arms, once empty and aching, now held the fullness of new life and the promise of a future. Ruth stood near in silence, worn and unnoticed, her eyes on the old woman and the child. The restoration had come through a foreigner's faithfulness, and it rested now on Naomi. The women named the child Obed, declaring, "A son is born to Naomi." Obed would become the father of Jesse, who would be the father of David. Thus, from the unwavering devotion of a foreign widow and the kindness of a redeemer, a lineage was established. The life that had come home empty was filled beyond measure, blessed by faithfulness that sought no reward.